Releasing it out. And one more time, just cleansing our entire brain from all of the thoughts. Just releasing it all in this breath. So breathe it in, allow it to circulate throughout your being, and then blow it all out into the universe. Knowing that it can be transformed for the highest good of all. And as we turn within, I know that God is present. God is in the midst of this meeting and is dwelling within each one of us because there's only one. There's only one life, and we're all connected through this wonderful life force. So as I bless this meeting, knowing that it is divinely ordained, and that the information that is shared is information that will help those that are here and those that are online to make the necessary decisions. And as we move forward, I know that the right people that are honest and fair will present themselves to each one of you when the time is right to do what needs to be done. I bless those that have decided not to rebuild, and I bless those that have decided to rebuild in whatever form that may be. Know that God is with you in making all of the decisions, and trust your own intuition, for that intuition is divinely guided. So I bless our speakers as they will be introduced very shortly. And I want to say thank you to everyone that is participating in this town hall meeting. I am grateful for each one of you. I am grateful for our speakers. And this is the first of several that we plan to do with even more information as time progresses. So stay tuned and be aware that we are here to support you, not only in prayer, but support you in any way that we possibly can through this loving community of Ahiah. I say I am grateful, I am thankful, and I thank the divine presence for all that is. And so it is. Amen.
Much gratitude to Patricia. She failed to mention that she is also our board president of the Board of Trustees. She's also a licensed practitioner emeritus. That means that she's been a prayer warrior since the Big Bang. And we are so grateful to have her here in our shared leadership. I'm Rev Michael. I'm Senior Minister and the Spiritual Director of Ahiah Center for Spiritual Living. We are trans-denominational. We embrace all faiths. And we know that Spirit is always on time, in time, that everybody who needs to be in this space is here right now and at home, and also in the future, because we're in the quantum realm, because we're recording the live stream. There will be folks coming along next week, next month, down the line, who will participate in this with us virtually. So the information that we share today goes on for all time. And Shirley Taylor has just come through. I'm going to announce what our agenda is right now. We're going to talk about rebuilding progress. There are those in the room who are already in the midst of rebuilding. Gloria, would you mind letting, or you can come right here, Ms. Taylor. There we go, perfect. Awesome, make some room. So there are those of us who have already started rebuilding. There's also those who don't have a need to rebuild, but have a need for mitigation of smoke and ash, because that's a whole another topic, and we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. We're going to hear from the rebuilding progress from Shirley Taylor. I will make available in the live stream the New York Times link about her progress, and her son told me that the walls are going up, that the roof is up. Is that right? No, yeah, so she's on a mission. And let's see, after that, we'll hear a little bit from regional planning. Brian McGinnis is in our midst, going to answer some questions and maybe evoke some new questions about the regional planning piece of the puzzle. We also have Chris Corbett, Chris C. from Altadena Collective, and there is an Altogether collective too, yeah, Altadena Collective. Going to talk a little bit about architecture and the permitting process. We'll have time for an open mic Q&A, and I just want you to know what inspired this is I finally made some drives probably 4 or 5 months after the fire. I made some drives through my home town of Altadena. Our home was spared, but my neighbors, my post office, Baba Anochi's Rhythms of the Village on Lake Street, my African store, was gone. It was just devastation. So it took me many, many months to go through the neighborhood. And as I was driving through, I just kind of asked Spirit, let me help. Show me what is mine to do. How can I help? And what occurred to me is that in 2021, on my birthday, my wife and I were at Mimi's, and we decided in that moment we're going to build a house for my daughter. She was living on Orange Grove. My grandson had some issues in the neighborhood, and we were like, nope, we got a yard, we're going to build a house. I sketched out the house on February the 21st of 2021. By June the 1st, we had plans, not only plans and an architect and a builder, but we had a plan check. We broke ground on June the 1st, right? By Christmas, because my daughter's on a mission. She's like Ms. Taylor here, Ms. Taylor, right? She was on a mission. She wanted to be in her house by Christmas, and Marilyn was in her house by Christmas. So I want you to know what's possible. And that's a 2-story, 1,200 square foot home. So, it was a mission, but it was accomplished. And so today, the county's saying that they'll fast track, they'll waive permit fees. I mean, they're supporting us in the rebuild process. So I want us to be able to get the message out that it's possible, message of hope. Yes? Okay, so first, I want to call forward Nancy Johnson. She's one of our members here. She is a service warrior. Nancy receives the Centers for Spiritual Living Meritorious Award for her service with Friends Indeed, the Back to School Project, the Christmas Project, Thanksgiving. Nancy, you want to share with us a little bit about your progress, what's working good and what may not be working so well? Would you do that with us? Okay.
Something like that. I didn't have any notes prepared or anything.
You'll have to use the mic because there's folks at home.
Oh.
Yeah, to hear you.
But I was thinking about what I would say today because Reverend Mike put me on the agenda, not asking, of course, first. So I was thinking about things, and I think the first thing I wanted to say is that from the very beginning, I felt I had a choice, that in all situations, you have a choice. And my home of 50 years had burnt to the ground. I was hanging out at my son's house with my disabled daughter, his disabled mother and father-in-law who lost their home, and him and his daughter, and we were all there, and I was like, oh my God, I just want to fall down. But I realized that I had to make a choice about how I was going to respond to this devastating news of losing my home of 50 years. And I could choose to give up and say, this is really more than I can handle. Let me just curl up in a ball somewhere. Or I could say, every day is a new day. It's a new journey. And I'm lucky that I'm a member of this church because that's our philosophy, is that there's always a choice. There's always. And so that's what I decided to embrace, like totally. Everything has a choice. And I can choose to be that person who just says, oh God, I can't go on. Or I can be the person that leads my family on a new journey of rebuilding our lives, which is an overwhelming journey. And it has been overwhelming. But I feel like because I made the choice to step into it, I don't know that I really had a choice because I had been in my home for 50 years. I probably couldn't even afford to live there if I was just coming into the neighborhood because Altadena, we know Altadena, so it was like I could have just said, I'm gonna sell this property and I'll go find a place. But then I realized, where am I gonna go? There's really nowhere I could go. I don't have relatives in the South where it's less expensive to live. My support system is here. So because I made that choice to rebuild, it brought about a whole lot of things. And I think perseverance is a big part of this, because you can run up against walls that are not in your favor, things to do that are not in your best interest, because it takes time, and we're always in a hurry. Everybody's in a hurry. I understand that. And this is not the time to be that person, because there's 9,000 other families trying to rebuild their houses too. I've been lucky in a lot of ways, but I think that blessings come to you when you live in a particular way, that you invite the good. The law of attraction says when you give it out, it comes back to you. And I feel that I'm in that place where some of the road has been easy and some of the road has been difficult. Because when you lose everything, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
So I think the biggest challenge was finding a place to live temporarily with a disabled child and a caregiver and ADA accessibility and all those kinds of things, and still being close to Pasadena where our support is. And
Where are you now, Nancy, in your rebuild process?
in my rebuild process, I just signed off on the interior design, which was I mean, the whole design thing is such a new thing for people who aren't in that business. So I never thought about how many little decisions there are, like, should this door swing that way, or should it swing the other way, and where do you want the windows to be, and all of those kinds of things inside. And I'm right now in the middle of the exterior design, and so that is presenting a whole bunch of other things that I don't know anything about, like, do you do stone, do you do wood, do you do cement, smooth cement, smooth stucco, something it's called, I don't know. But that's where I am with that stuff right now.
Are you working with a local architect?
I'm working with a local architect. When this happened, I was building the ADU in my backyard for my daughter's caregiver, and it burned, and so I had an architect for that, and he had designed the ADU to match my house, so it looked like it fit there. And the ADU was at the place where they were gonna be doing the walls the next day, and then the fire came. So we're in the process of getting the permits. Well, we have the permits, so it's just a matter of getting started with building the ADU back, and that's coming along, and that will be done first.
Okay. And have they given you a timeline on when they think they'll be able to get the plan check and the?
The plan check is in for the ADU.
Okay.
And because it was already in the it had already been approved, and they just wanted to come back and look at the footings or something. It's called the footings with the foundation to make sure that was so that part is okay. And I was telling Renee and Marsha, we just got our temporary power pole installed there, so they're ready to start working on the ADU this coming week, and they anticipate it will be done in December. They haven't started on the big house, on my residence, but they anticipate starting with that probably in mid-October, mid to late October. So.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Any needs that you have? If you had the planning, regional planning or building and safety listening in, are there any specific needs that you have?
No, just, I think that people get lost. It's such an enormous task that we never had to deal with. If people are just honest and say, this is how it's going to be and this is how long it's going to take, so you don't get, because all the time I'm like, I want to go home. I just want to go home.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to happen for a while, and you have to be realistic about
Right,
that. And so
right.
you want those people who are doing the work on your house or you're rebuilding, you're mitigating, whatever it is, just be upfront so that you can get your life on a timeline to go where you need to go.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Nancy. Sending you light ahead. And as you know, here at Ahiah, our theme is we are so flexible. And, those who are flexible should not be bent out of shape. So we're going to kind of move things around a little bit. I want to accommodate Shirley Taylor, who is the mother of my financial services advisor, my trusted advisor. And yes, and yours too. Okay. Okay. Small world. Awesome. So I'm always inspired by folks who are ahead of the curve. There's also a ADU on Altadena Drive. If you're going right there by Marengo, there's an ADU over there. I was so inspired by that. And it's framed up. I think it's got a roof. That might be one of the first ADUs that are going up. So, Ms. Taylor, with your permission, may I call you to the microphone to share your experience? Okay. Please help me welcome Ms. Shirley Taylor. Let me make sure this mic is set up right for you here. There we go. How's that? That good? Okay, good.
Well, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a firm believer that things happen according to God's divine plan. And I say no one ever expected things to happen as they did in January just passed. And everybody was so at peace thinking that they had it in check. When we found out we really didn't have anything in check, when we couldn't do anything about a horrific fire. I was asked to give some information to New York Times in January after the fire took place. And they asked me, how did I feel about what had happened and how did I feel about the city of Altadena? And I really didn't have to take a whole lot of time to think about it because it was a place that was peaceful. And despite the fact that I didn't know everyone, I was at home. And I said it was just a fantasy turned into a travesty. But that can always be rearranged and it can be rebuilt. And so I didn't really get too excited about it, to tell you the truth. My demeanor in general is always to be peaceful and calm. And it's to be peaceful and calm so I can handle the situation not as I wish it would be, but as it is. I look at life as it is at the moment. I thought about after the fire, actually in the beginning of when I knew there was a fire, I knew it was windy, I knew there was a fire. I never really thought that the fire would come west and come across Lake Avenue and destroy the areas of Altadena. I thought that I'd maybe have to be evacuated, but I was coming back home to my house. And I'd only have smoke insulation because I've been exposed to fires up in the hills before and so on and so forth. And then after the disaster, I thought to myself, well, I took ownership of what had happened, in other words. And I thought to myself, I am so glad that the material things that I lost was not the basis by which I lived, that was something that it has now disappeared from my life. However, I was still going to go on and look at what situation I was in the day. So I never lost a tear. I never looked sad. I went to my church, which is First African Episcopal Methodist Church on Raymond in Pasadena. And everybody was saying, oh gosh, it was such a travesty. We lost everything, this, that, and the other. And they looked at me. They said, did anything happen to you? I said, yes, I lost my house. They said, but you're not upset, you're not excited? I said, no. I said, this is a new journey, and I'm not going to worry about it. And I really didn't, and I have not lost any tears, nor has it been painful for me. I just decided that this has happened. Now, where do we go from here? So I've held myself out to contact other people and encourage them to let them know that this is not the end, but the beginning. And I've been contacted by several people to be a spokesperson, to speak about Altadena, to speak about how I felt, to speak about what happened. And, you know, none of us can attest to actually what happened and why, other than the fact it is done. It is already done. And I was contacted by several other news medias and some television, you know, owners and stations. And I would not talk with them. And the reason I would not speak with them is because the first thing they ask me, who do you blame? And I say, I have no blame. And I can't blame anybody because I'm not in a position to start blaming. However, if you want to talk to me about the situation that has happened and what can we do about it now to prevent this from happening again, I'll be happy to speak with you. So I've turned down an awful lot of people that wanted me to speak for some ungodly reason. I don't know why, but I'm a talker. And so I just decided that, oh, my son also is a Shirley Taylor. He owns Taylor Insurance and Financial Advisement on Walnut. He's my oldest son. I have two sons. And he told me, I have someone that I'll introduce you to. He's one of my clients. And he is a contractor. And I said, you know that I just don't pick people and deal with people just by rote. I say, I have to meet him, and then I have to evaluate if I connect with him, and I have to look at his credentials. And he said, Mom, but he's so, I say no. And because I'm not too skeptical about a lot of people because I give people chances. Well, when he came, and he came a couple of days after the fire, and when he came, he had a picture of my home on his laptop, including all of the landscape and everything. He said, your house was beautiful. He said it was the most beautiful and best landscaped on the street. I said, yeah, I worked at it. He said, and I didn't know what to expect from him, but I was very cautious like everybody else. And the first thing I was waiting to see what he was gonna ask me. And I said, because this will decide if I'm gonna go with him. I said, because if he started asking me about my money, then no. The first thing he asked me, he didn't ask me about how much income I had. He didn't ask me about how much insurance I had. He said, how do you want your house rebuilt? And that was the only statement he had to make. And I said, well, who are you? He said, well, my name is Andrew. And I don't know if it's appropriate to speak about his name, but I'm going to do it because he's such a fantastic person. Andrew Slocum, and he owns a green development, and very low-keyed. And I started feeling comfortable around him because he explained things that I had no knowledge of. My knowledge, I was a federal executive district manager of Social Security for 50 years. And I retired as a manager from the agency just before the pandemic. I had no knowledge about any architecture, what have you, or this, that, or the other. But he always spoke in a manner that could be understood. He broke it down in lay person's terms, and he gave me something to think about. And I was thinking, oh my God, I know nothing. When I said I had what I had in my mind about the way I wanted things to be built, he went to his architect and bought me blueprints. He bought me at least 4 blueprints. And people were complaining, oh, they charge every time they do a blueprint. He didn't ask me for any money. He just bought me the blueprints. He said, let's get this right. And I didn't know what to expect because everybody was talking about, oh, it's going to take a year or two, maybe 3 years for rebuild. I never thought that. I had no doubt. And I just said to myself, I said, I have to go on. And I said, I was so happy that my life didn't depend on material things. And so this was a new slate. And I had to start rebuilding my house again. And when I speak of rebuilding my house, it means individuals as well, building from the bottom back up to the top. And so I was at peace, and I'm still at peace, and I will remain at peace. All of a sudden, he told me after we got the blueprints together, he took me to wherever we were supposed to get approval of all types of what it permits and this and that and the other. I was just sitting there being ignorant because I didn't know anything about it. So he stood up to the plate and he told them what we had. He even took our blueprints and this and that and the other. And so I laughed at him because I say, you're the only person I know that's on a Zoom call, on the phone, and talking to me at the same time. He said, well, I'm always very busy. And I said, fine. And then he told me ordinarily, and I thought it was a godsend, because he said, ordinarily, I don't handle residential buildings. I handle industrial buildings. He said, I don't even venture out into that. He said, but I'm going to do this for you. And I say, well, great. I say, all you have to remember, you're not working for me, you're working with me. So I can have an understanding. And then we started working on it, and every day he was telling me what was happening. And all of a sudden, I started seeing progress. He brought his builders in and so on and so forth. I saw progress after progress. First, I saw everything had been removed. As soon as everything was removed and the soil was tested, and I said, I don't want an old foundation, I started seeing things happen. And he explained to me he had to get approval from the gas company, the electric company, this, that, and the other. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to do it. And so he started doing all of these things independently, and it put me at ease. And I was thinking, my God, even if I get my house built, my house is going to be the only house, except I had one tiny little house to my right as you come in my driveway that didn't burn up. And all the houses around it, in front of it, and whatever else burned. And it's boarded up now. And I say, I'm going to be the only person on the street. I'll be lonely up here. That's what I was thinking to myself. And then I say, no. I say, I'm going to be the only person on the street that have a house built that somebody else is going to look at and say, it's possible. And so I said, I'm going on with this. So at this point, I'm spiritual, so I said everything I have touched turned gold. I have not been disappointed, not one time. And because everything we talk about that needs to be done, the door is open. And I'm not going to specify the insurance company, but I had excellent insurance. But I would advise anybody at this time, look at their coverage. I learned to interpret the insurance, jargon, because it will pay you up to a certain amount. And people walking around saying, oh, I'm going to get $300,000 for my loss. It doesn't mean that. And so I was very pleased that I had the insight to increase my insurance as the value of the property was increasing. And that was necessary because in California, you're not going to be able to rebuild a house for $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. It's not going to happen. And so I said, so I had done that to a degree where I knew I could rebuild. I was peaceful, and I'm still at peace with this. So we started rebuilding. And people have been impressed. They've been stopping by. I've even been told that some people want to showcase my house. I said, oh, really? I said, well, it depends on why you want to do that. I said, all I want to do is not be glorified because I'm rebuilding my house, but to let it be understood it can be done. Now, at this point, I'm dealing with quite a few things. I'm dealing with documentary that's going to come up, Altadena Rising. And I'm one of the primary spokespeople for that. And basically with that, I'm encouraging people to believe, to see something that was big and grand at one time can once be again. And so I'm encouraging people not to think small, but to think large. And that when they approached me about Altadena Rising, I said, well, that's appropriate because if it's rising, it means it's going up. It's not going down. And everyone that I've spoken to, they say, but I know everybody has helped you. I know your sons have helped you. I know this. I say, no, they are too busy. I said, I have only consulted spiritually to say thank you every day for my progress and to thank the individuals that have been put in my path. A lot of people are taking a whole lot for granted in that I find when the adjusters call them, naturally they're upset and stressed. But I've talked to several adjusters and from my insurance company, and they change as often if they feel necessary. After talking to them, I told them, I said, you know what? I say, maybe nobody else has thanked you. I say, but I want to thank you for myself and other people as well. And I say, because, have some patience. I say, any compassion that you're showing at this time will be greatly appreciated, but a lot of people can't tell you. I say, but I'm telling you, thank you, because the things that you've done and the patience and empathy that you have shown is something that's very fantastic. And I say, and what people forget, most of you have left your homes from different states to come and help us. I say, I appreciate that. So I've sent several emails to them that can be shared with their superiors about how they have performed under duress and stress themselves to try and help us, people that they don't even know. And I'm so grateful. At this time, I passed my house, and from the outside, it looks like I could move in because the building has been built. The roofing has been put on. I understand yesterday that they brought doors and windows in. The bathrooms have been set up, and the foundations have been put down for the showers and the tubs. All the electric fixtures have been done. The gas lines have been done. It's just a matter now of me taking the time to go through room by room and decide, with the contractor, I've decided on my paint colors inside and outside. My flooring, we've just met on that. And the only thing that I say is when they do the framing of each room, the architecture, design, and blueprint means absolutely nothing until you see it. I equate that as to going into a store, buying a garment. It looks good on the mannequin, it looks good on the rack. Once you get where you are going and you try it on, you say, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And so I know the blueprints have already been approved, everything has been approved, but when I looked at the actual rooms, I said to myself, well, you know, it needs a little this, that, or the other here. No, a little door. I think it needs a little bit more sunlight. So can we put another window here? Can we do this? Can we do that? And I have been accommodated to the max by doing what, them accommodating me with that. But basically, I understand from talking to the contractor, if things go the way that they're supposed to go, that in December, my house will be fully built from ground up. And I will be able to move in. As a matter of fact, they teased me and said, it's going to be your Christmas present. I said, oh, really? I said, well, you know, I was only hoping that I'd have it done by my birthday, which is January the 18th. I said, last year, I said, at my birthday, I said, oh my God, I say, this is the first time I'm a homeless person on my birthday, because I'm the one that's the social butterfly in the area. I'm the one that cooks for everybody, donate food for everybody. Everybody comes to my house. I tell them it's Southern hospitality because I'm from the South. But everybody's always at my house. They say my house was an inviting house. So they're bugging me. They're not talking about me. They say, when you going to get your house back so we can come over and eat? I'm like, oh, well, it's soon. But this year, I said I'm very, very grateful, because last year, I said first I was grateful to have one more year. And I said, but I started writing again. I write. I said, well, it's time for me to do my book. I say, I said, because last year, January the 8th, well, this year, January the 18th, I turned 76. And I said 75 and starting all over again. I say that'll be the topic of my book, my next book, and next journal that I write. I said, but, you know, I say, I'm so, so grateful. And I'm more than that, grateful to everyone who has assisted me. And I'm not talking about monetary reasons. I'm talking about with support, emotional support.
Yes.
And I tell people, they say, well, you seem so happy. Why are you happy? You treat people so nice. Why do you do it? And the only statement I can make is because I'm so blessed. That's the only thing I can say. I said, how blessed am I? I said, I am the only woman that I know of, not people, other people may know of other women that in the same category, that I could basically put money on it, you know, not giving my money away just for any reason. I could get on my phone right now, call 10 or 15 people and say, they call me Mama Shirley, and their grandchildren call me Grandma Shirley. These people are not related to me. They're different nationalities, different statuses, and everything. But to be that loved and cared for at any one time, what more can I ask? And I think that's the probably one of the major factors that things are going so well for me. And I agree totally with the speaker before me, is what you project and who you are. You get your rewards back, and you do reap what you sow. I believe that. And I say, I would have those people come to me and say, what do you need? How do you need it? And I think that I would tell people, don't be fearful. If you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask. Don't think in terms that you may be ridiculed or thought to be ignorant or not smart enough to know this. We don't know this because we don't have the qualifications. It's never happened before, and some of us are still devastated. I talk to people now who are still at square one. They haven't even been able to accept the fact that their house has been burned or their property has been destroyed. And I say, just be patient with people. Be patient. Let them know nobody's bringing judgment, and that they should feel free to ask. Even if they think they don't have the financial means to rebuild or what have you, maybe there are other avenues that can open that can give them something so they can have a decent life expectancy that remains and live okay. And it's all right. And it's all right to have lost everything but gain insight and gain the ability to move on.
Amen.
So that's how I feel at this moment. I would say I am at peace. And I saw my son come in, and I told him when I moved in with my son, I'm gonna be probably very difficult. I say I've never lived with anybody. I'm gonna give you a hard time, and you're gonna give me a hard time because I have never lived with anyone. But I was very grateful that actually I had not actually been around him in totality and lived with him since he was well, when he left to go to college. He came back and stayed temporarily. Then he was out on his own. And I'm not going to tell you how old he is. He probably don't want to disclose that to you. But it's been many, many years. And it gave me a chance to rekindle knowing and getting to know my son, not as my little boy, but as a fully grown, productive man that he had been groomed and developed into. So I was more grateful for that than anything else. And so it gave me the opportunity to, and I think for some of the people that have had to go out and find another place to live with relatives or live in hotels or other facilities, it's given them an opportunity to reflect upon their life now as to what it has been in the past and so on and so forth. And I think that if you have any questions, you may ask me, but this is where I am, very much at peace. And my house is coming along extremely well. I am grateful, very grateful.
Mrs. Taylor, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I know now why they call you Mama Shirley, because I definitely caught the vibe. I appreciate you sharing your testimony with us here today. And are there any questions? Any questions anyone has for Mrs. Taylor? Well, one of the things that came up was in the building process, you know, there's different steps, there's different processes from the plan check. Well, first the debris removal and then getting your ground set, determining is the foundation going to be savable, going to do a new foundation, then the plan check, and it's just like on and on and on. And it can be daunting if you don't know what those are. In one of my groups, there came up a conversation about the most common reasons for permit approval delays. And it said these issues are mainly in our own hands. Missing property owner signatures, right? Many times people will pull as owner builder, they pull their own permits, but they forget to sign the paperwork. A delayed fee payment. In the Altadena area, if you lost your home, your fees are going to be waived. But I think there's a process that you have to find, and yeah, there's a process you have to go through. And I'm hoping that Brian McGinnis, who's from regional planning, might be able to speak a little bit to that. Incomplete building plans. So incomplete setbacks, dimensions, square foot not included, right? The setbacks have changed. There's a lot of different variations, so that could be a topic we might hear about. Lack of required clearances and setbacks, right? In certain cases, the square footage could exceed 10% in a like-for-like plans to rebuild, you know. Sometimes people get the idea, well, you know, I'd like to have this, I'd like to have that, and if it exceeds 10%, it's not like-for-like, and it will delay the process. So I'd like to hear, we've invited Brian McGinnis from Regional Planning to come down, and I have a friend, James Knowles, who also works in regional planning. I've known James for, gosh, over 30 years, you know. He's out hanging out with his family, so he won't be here today. But Brian has shown up. We want to thank Carmen Sains from regional planning for extending the opportunity for Brian to come and show up today. Would you like to come and share with us on some of the topics that we talked about and anything else that you think might be pertinent for folks that are in the rebuild process? And just so you know, there's regional planning, there's building and safety, which is all about your permits and so forth. And Brian, can you explain to us what the differences are?
I would love to.
Awesome. Let me see if I can get this mic ready for you. Is that high enough for you?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, there you go.
So I had a PowerPoint presentation, but I think I'm just going to kind of freewheel it.
Okay, okay.
Going off of your question, so regional planning handles planning in the unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County. So planning, zoning, all that, like allowable land uses, not allowable land uses. So regional planning is distinct from the Department of Public Works. So we are the Department of Regional Planning, also known as LA County Planning. And then the Department of Public Works oftentimes gets sort of put together with building and safety. We'll use the terms more or less interchangeably, but it is the Department of Public Works Building and Safety Division. So when folks say building and safety, that's what they're referring to. Yeah, we work hand in hand. We work very closely, and as a result of fire, we are working together more closely than ever. So that's where a lot of the streamlining comes into play. So first, planning takes a crack at it. So we review architectural plans, and then building and safety, they take it from there once a plan has received regional planning's stamp of approval. Building and safety dives in and they look at the structural plans, structural calculations. So you can submit everything all at once, and that is what we would call at risk, because the concern with doing it all at once is if you submit everything in one go, architectural plans, and you've already prepared your structural plans and calculations. There's a lot that goes into building and safety's review. So all of those structural engineering calculations. The concern is if you have any corrections issued by regional planning, like, sorry, your house can't be that close to the setback, that's gonna potentially throw a wrench in the works as far as what building and safety is looking at.
Right.
So you have to redo those structural plans, structural calculations. So it's best practice to do the regional planning portion first before preparing those structural engineering plans and calculations.
Good point. Good point.
That's just, I mean, personally, what I would advise. Let's see what else. Who here has been to the One Stop Center on Woodbury?
Me.
A lot of folks. Okay, cool. Cool. So yeah, that's on Woodbury in Altadena. A really useful resource is recovery.lacounty.gov. So on there, I especially like the rebuilding drop-down menu, and it has information about hours and location of our one-stop centers. There's another one clear out in Calabasas you probably don't want to go to, but it's there if you find yourself in the neighborhood. What is like for like and what is not considered like for like, which I'll go into. Just a ton of information. We've got information about pre-approved plans, fee waivers. You can learn about all that. So I'll just mention, for most folks here, it'll probably be like familiar, but like for like means no more than 10% or 200 square foot, whatever's greater, increase in building footprint, square footage, and height. Non-like for like, anything exceeding that. And with a like for like, you can like move structures around, provided that you're not encroaching any further. If you're going further into like required yard setback areas, which vary somewhat, and we can talk about that. That's all the more reason to come into the one-stop center on Woodbury. You can walk in or make an appointment, just so we can kind of hash out like the details, go through the ins and outs of like particular properties. I feel like for some properties, based on what they had, like the lot characteristics, like for like makes a lot of sense, but in other instances, depending on what the property owner would like, non-like for like makes just as much, if not more sense. So it's highly specific.
And Brian, is the advantage of like for like that it'll be fast tracked? Is that what the advantage is?
They're both expedited. I mean, compared to what you having been through the process pre-fire, it's like day and night.
Okay.
So both like for like and non-like for like are expedited. With non-like for like, there's more places you can kind of run afoul of the zoning code because there's just more standards with a non-like for like project kind of evaluate against. which are to comply with the Altadena Community Standards District, as well as the residential design standards. If you're doing a non-like for like.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing like for like, if it's more or less what was there, and you're not making any what we call non-conforming issues any worse, then we're good. So I think on average, non-like for like probably takes a little bit longer than like for like, but if your first submittal, your initial submittal to regional planning for a non-like for like project is sterling, perfect, ready to go, it gets through us on one pass. And so it takes as long as a like for like.
Great. That's
And-
good to know.
Yeah, so regional plannings are, initial review period is 2 weeks, 10 business days.
Oh, wow.
For, yeah, just to take a crack at it and see like if it's ready to go, stamp it, approve it, and you're on to, you can upload your structural plans and the other minimum submittal requirements for building and safeties review, and you're on to the next step. If there are any corrections, you'll hear from us. Any comments on the site plan. Most plans either make it through on the first go or take like one round of corrections. We try to be very comprehensive when we issue corrections, so it's not like this piecemeal approach. It's just like you got to do these 3 things or 4 things or how many things, and then you're good. So, and then let's see what else.
So just to clarify, once regional planning has stamped it,
Yeah.
then it can go to building and safety, right, for the approval of the plan check,
You
right?
hear from us, we will say, congratulations, your plans have been deemed approved by regional planning. Please go ahead and, if you haven't already, upload those minimum submittal requirements for building and safeties review, which is like your energy calculations, your structural plans, this goes on. Go ahead and upload those, and then as soon as everything's uploaded, we will route it to building and safety. So under normal circumstances, business as usual circumstances, we would hand your plans back to you, say good luck, and then you would go and turn around and submit it to building and safety. But in an effort to make everything a little more streamlined, go a little more smoothly, we are handling, it's a little more legwork on our part, but we're happy to do it. So we route the plans to building and safety.
Okay,
And so, yeah, that's been one
okay,
innovation.
right.
How are you guys able to handle this volume?
I don't know.
Has that really changed staffing or?
We've done some staff augmentation. We've been growing our ranks a little bit.
Okay.
More to come. We're hiring. So but we've basically been borrowing folks. Like I actually, on paper, I am in a different section of the department, and I'm on loan right now to the disaster recovery team. So, yeah.
And then the fancy AI.
Yeah,
tool.
yeah.
So how has that been integrated? How's that working out? Like, do you guys use it
Yeah.
just on your day-to-day? Like, how?
It's still a pilot program. You can go on recovery.lacounty.gov. Again, everything lives under that rebuilding menu. Go there. I believe you click on the link that says e-check, and it's very cool, very, very interesting. But we're still like, you basically upload your plans to, it's free. Upload your plans. This AI technology, artificial intelligence, takes a look at it, issues corrections, and the training wheels are not completely off yet. Like there's still that human element where we kind of like, we'll look at the report, but it does, if you get like all good marks from the artificial intelligence, then it makes for an easier plan check.
Here's a question, Brian. Does all new construction now require fire sprinklers?
Yes, and that's a building and safety requirement, so I'm speaking out of turn here.
Okay.
But yeah, talk to building and safety. But yeah, new like residences have to be sprinkled. I know that much. And there was a suspension of the under normal circumstances, you would need solar panels
Yeah.
for new construction.
Right.
But those are being house set to be solar ready. And if you go on recovery.lacounty.gov, as of yesterday, you go on the homepage,
Uh-huh.
there's still a banner at the top that talks about that very solar readiness requirement.
Okay.
But you're not required to have the solar panels themselves.
Mhm,
You gotta have all the wirings and hookups, and that stuff's all above my pay grade. Like, I'm not an
Got it.
electrician.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks.
Currently, I know that it's probably up on the dashboard, but how many people submitted to planning?
I haven't checked in a few days, but yeah, we do have a dashboard. I can check right now. And
Last
it's,
time I checked it, I think it was around 1,600, 1,700.
yeah, yeah. And you were talking about like common pitfalls, like places where that adds to review time. A lot of times, like I'm personally waiting on a lot of structural plans, which is a good place to be, go slow. Don't, because if you, building and safety is always telling folks, like, don't submit like an incomplete, like not, 90% submittal, like 100%, all of the requirements for building and safeties review. So I appreciate applicants that I have approved are taking their time, getting everything together for building and safeties. As I was mentioning, the alternative to that is doing all that stuff up front and then submitting everything all at once, the architectural plans for our review and the structural plans, et cetera, for building and safeties review. But that comes at risk.
Right,
So
right,
it's-
right.
Yeah. I feel like I talked to a lot of applicants, some I worked with in their first submittal, and now they got like a dozen submittals under their belt, and they're like feeling pretty confident now. And I think if you're doing like a truly like for like rebuild, like a carbon copy of what was there, or you're doing a non-like for like rebuild, but you're well versed on the our residential design standards, that one kind of throws people for a loop. So after reading those carefully and feeling like, yeah, I've mastered the Altadena Community Standards District and the residential design standards, I know those inside and out, then like, okay, like more power to you. But it stresses me out when people submit everything all at once.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh boy, because if anything is off.
Understood.
A foot, gotta like pare down that wall a little bit.
Right.
Then,
And then just to clarify, people can make an appointment at the One Stop
Oh, yeah.
to come and do like a pre-consultation, right? For example, if they're doing a two-story and they want to know, hey, is a strong wall required on this, or is, right?
Yeah.
They have structural questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I either walk in Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to, don't want to misspeak here, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
4:30, yeah.
Or you can make an appointment. We have appointments available Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday mornings. So yeah, to each their own. Whatever is better.
Okay.
Honestly, you can always pick up the phone and call us as well. You can call planning, our general number.
Right,
Say,
right.
I've got a question for the disaster recovery team, and they'll route you to us, or someone will call you back. You can also email recovery@planning.lacounty.gov for planning related questions, and on our website, recovery.lacounty.gov, you can also find the phone number for the Altadena One-Stop Center.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. And it's one stop, like everybody's there. The fire department, building and safety, right?
Everybody who's anybody. We got regional planning, public works, building and safety division, and as well as other divisions of public works. But building and safety is the one that you're probably talking to the most. Public health is there. The Department of Public Health. If you're on septic, definitely want to talk to them. If you're on a sewer system, probably won't have to deal with public health a whole lot, if at all. But if you're on septic, definitely have a word with public health. And last but not least, LA County Fire Prevention and Forestry Division of the LA County Fire Department. In case you have any oak trees on your property, then you want to have a word, talk to planning and possibly the Forestry Division as well.
Okay.
Depending on if you need an oak tree permit or an emergency oak tree permit, which is a whole topic we don't have the time for. If you have an oak tree, just know.
they know about it. They know about
Oak
it.
tree is
yeah.
a wide berth.
Right.
What if the neighbor has a gigantic oak tree
Come talk to
hanging
us.
all over your property?
Come talk to us. Come talk to regional
Yeah.
planning.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Brian. Anything else? Folks need to know?
think so. Let me. Oh, temporary housing permits. If
Okay.
you are interested in putting an RV or a trailer or some kind of prefab structure on your lot, there's help available for that. So talk to, again, planning.
Does that include like a prefab ADU?
It depends if it's going to be permanent. If it's intended to be permanent, then it's more like a rebuild process. But if you're looking at just having something tide you over in the meantime, you can go on, again, everything lives on recovery.lacounty.gov underneath that rebuild menu. It's got it all. It's a lot of information, but if you go on there and click on temporary housing, it'll talk about what you need to do to get set up in RV trailer or something of that kind.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Any other questions for Brian? No? He'll be around for a while.
Yeah, I'll be around for a while.
Yeah. And we've got some Zuzus and Wham Whams. We can snack around and have a little fellowship afterwards. I want to honor your time and introduce to you from Nardi House, Chris Driscoll. I've had a lot of conversations with when we built our ADU. I've also referred them out, and he's given me some great information about our kitchen upgrade. So I invited the Altadena Collective to come on down. Chris is Chris Corbett? Yeah. Going to talk a little bit about architecture and the permitting process for anyone who might be in the process of getting permits and so forth. Here we go, Chris. You gonna use this mic right there? All right. And then we'll be wrapping up in just a moment.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us here today. It's been quite an honor to hear everybody's story. I've heard a lot of tragedy, and it's really inspiring to hear some positive stories from everybody. So I'm not really a big stand-up person here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down if the wire's going to let me up here. But I know that people are watching this from their computer, so I'm going to sit down up here because I'm a very informal person, and this is more my style. So thank you for accommodating it. So my name's Chris Corbett. I am originally from Ohio, but I've lived out in the LA area for over 20 years now, and I call it home. When my family was looking to buy a house, we looked in Altadena, but nobody accepted our offer, so we moved to La Crescenta. And I've worked in the architecture world for over 20 years. Most recently, I've owned my own studio called Dreamers and Doers. And before that, I was working for the Walt Disney Imagineering Company, designing billion-dollar theme parks all over the world. So I've worked on all types of projects, big and small. It's the same for anything. What you're trying to do is understand the goals and the priorities of that project and bring it to life in the best possible way. And when the fire happened on January 7th, I immediately turned to my daughter's teacher, her kindergarten teacher who lived in Altadena, and he and his family lost their home. And I said, how can I help? So at that moment, I kind of became an ally and a supporter for my neighbors, and I felt that I had a duty because my background in architecture could help people in the rebuilding process. And what I've learned over the last 8 months is that listening is the best way to go about it. I originally thought I was going to come in and design some beautiful homes and help people out, but what I realized very quickly is that this was a different type of client and a different type of project to take on. It was less about just designing a beautiful home and getting people back into a place of safety and security and guiding them and navigating them along a process that on any other given day is difficult, but when you're dealing with everything else that's going on in your life, when you're recovering from a disaster, it's not quite as fun. It's more of a mission of resilience more than anything else. So it's actually amazing to hear Shirley's story of inspiration, but a lot of people just aren't there. And when they get to that point, when they stop looking at the past and what they lost, and start looking forward at the opportunity ahead, that's an amazing moment. And that's really what we're trying to get people through to do. So for us, it's about guiding you, giving you the information, finding the best as a group of people. And when my other partner, Chris Driscoll, and Tim Vortreed lost his Jane's Cottage, when we got together, we were aligned in our goals to help the community in any way that we could. And for me, it was looking out at what solutions had been developed already because other people had suffered through tragedy. And we wanted to see what they did, what their experience had been, what troubles that they come across, and how were they solved. And very early on, we found out that insurance was going to be a big issue. Dealing with the insurance company, not only through this tragedy, but then also in the future, when you build back your home, is your home going to be insurable? How much is that going to cost? What are the things that you can do in the design process to ensure that you can get good insurance for a lower cost? And that brought us across several people. There's an organization called IBHS, and that's the Institute of Building Home and Safety. And they developed a certification program called the Home Prepared Plus Wildfire Certification Program. And the people that had gone through that and home hardened their homes were more likely to have good insurance for less of a premium. So there was a gentleman in our neighborhood named Jay Lopez. He lived up in the Meadows area. His home did not burn down, but before the fire had taken place, he went ahead because he had lost his insurance, was on the California Fair Plan, so he took it upon himself to go ahead and do things to his home to get certified. And when he did, he was able to get back on insurance that went from $8,000 a year to $1,500 a year because it's a nationally recognized certification by the insurance companies. So we decided that that was the best way to go when we were approaching all of our clients when designing. Let's design our homes to make sure that they can meet the certification standard and be insurable in the future. But of course, when you make those changes, there's a certain cost associated with that. So one of our biggest challenges has been, okay, how can we help people achieve that level without having them to pay extra? So we've partnered up with a nonprofit called Resiliency Company, and they are creating a grant to help fill that gap, that delta of, you can build a house for this much, but it costs a little bit more to make sure that it's certified, can be certified. So we're working with them to get that grant, and then we are also working to lower costs on ways to implement those things. So one of the biggest costs when home hardening is generally taking your windows. So a lot of people had vinyl windows, single pane, maybe sometimes double paned, but unfortunately vinyl can melt at high temperatures, glass can break, especially if there's projectiles, things blowing around as there were on that night. So they recommend for their certification to get something above vinyl, so either fiberglass or wood or metal, and then making sure that you have double paned tempered glass, so strengthened glass in the windows. And when you have that double paned and stronger frame, then those are windows that are going to reduce chances of fire getting in to your home, because unfortunately most of the homes burnt down, most of the structures burnt down from within, not from the outside. So that meant that embers and flames were getting inside through the weakened openings, so through vents up into the attic or down into the crawl space below, through windows that were breaking because of the heat or melting. So home hardening is really about strengthening the exterior as much as you can. And that's super important because a lot of people said, well, I'm never going to build a wood structure back again. And so they started looking into alternatives, concrete, steel, strengthened structures. And what we found is that yes, you can get a home that's hardened that way, but the cost of that didn't align with the budgets of people's insurance or what they had available to rebuild. So the question became, is stick wood construction still a way to build back in an area that's prone to fires? And what we found is that through IBHS and through this home hardening, that you could still feel safe building with wood instead of changing to another material, and still build an affordable home that is home hardened for any sort of future disasters. So that's been really one of our goals. And then also figuring out different ways how we can work together to lower your costs overall. And going back to that window as an example, we've designed our, right now we've been working with about 75 different homeowners on rebuilding their homes. We've standardized our windows around a particular manufacturer, and by doing so, we can negotiate directly with that company and come up with a bulk price for those windows, drastically lowering the cost of those windows. And we're doing that from the roofing to the windows to the flooring, and treating the homes, even though each individual home is designed differently for a different lot, for a different client with different needs, we can begin to look at it as a kit of parts, so that we're looking at buying thousands of windows instead of a couple windows, or lots of lumber for multiple homes rather than one, and being able to achieve better discounts that way. So ultimately we loved Altadena. We want to bring it back. We want to make sure that the homes have the character and the style and the warmth that they had before, making sure the homeowners can come back and the neighborhood is restored, but then also be better prepared for the future and allow people to move from devastation to back to the fantasy that they had before the fire took place. And that's also looking at the commercial districts around Altadena and saying how can those areas be restored and come back and be better than ever. One of our partners had the idea of bringing a trolley back up Lake Avenue, just like it had before, where the Pacific Electric Railway was going up and down. So why can't we have that again? Why can't we look towards the future and make sure that Altadena is resilient, both residentially and commercially, bring it back, bring the businesses back, and make it a great place to live and even better than what it was before. Absolutely. And how can folks get in contact with the Altadena Collective? Sure. So we have our website at altadenacollective.org, or you can email me directly, chrisc@altadenacollective.org, and we will absolutely answer any question that you have. We talk to people that are still on step one. We talk to people that are already working with a contractor and having issues and having questions, and they just want another opinion about it. Our goal isn't to rebuild all the homes in Altadena. We could never do that. We want to make sure that we're working with as many people as possible so that we're all kind of moving towards the same goal, rather than, we don't see it as a competition in any way. So our goal is to just share the information that we've heard, and make sure that everyone's building back and meeting their own goals and their own priorities, whatever that might be. Wonderful, wonderful. And I had a question from a home viewer wondering, with the requirement for sprinklers in the home and hardening the home, water pressure was an issue. Is that addressed in this new requirement for sprinklers, for fire sprinklers in the homes? The fact that, if 100 homes have sprinklers, right, and the water pressure is low, is that being addressed at all? Yeah. Oh, do you have an answer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Out of turn here.
Yeah.
In the room a lot of times with my colleagues in public works,
Mhm.
fire, health, and according to my colleagues in fire, that is not an issue, but for a very small percentage of homes.
So the water pressure is not an issue for the sprinklers. Okay.
It's an issue, which is again, exceedingly not the case.
Yeah.
It does. There are occasionally
Got it.
properties where that is a concern. Don't talk to fire.
Yeah. Okay.
Not a deal breaker.
Right, yeah. Because I know they come out and they do a fire flow test, right, whenever you put an ADU to see if the pressure is going to be sufficient, right, for your, for the hose for the fire truck.
Right.
But I don't know if they did that for the sprinklers too. I would make up that they must.
Yeah, so we've heard the same thing, that pressure isn't an issue, but of course, on January 7th, it was an issue, right?
Yeah.
So I want to make sure, and we brought this up early on because we were, again, hearing from everybody that was rebuilding, having those same questions. Why should I put solar panels on the house? That's an additional burden on me. So that's, we communicated that very early on. Everyone's been very responsive and said, okay, let's roll that back and just say your home needs to be solar ready. We're also pushing to make sure that they can verify that the pressure is there before requiring you to have sprinklers in your home. So that's been a code for a while now, and I think it's a deal breaker for them. So they really want to make sure that every home has sprinklers in it and can be safe. So we just want to make sure that they have the pressure to do that. So that's our main concern with it.
Yeah. So would it be accurate to say that for a 1,200 square foot home, sprinklers might add another 20,000? Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard costs up to 50,000 depending on the size of the home. So it's an additional cost depending on what type of insurance you have and the coverage that you have. Sometimes it's covered. But they'll have a bucket for code upgrades. So the sprinkler systems would be covered in that because it's a required new code upgrade. But it really depends on the insurance you have. So whenever we work with anybody, we have somebody that reads through their entire policy, not just the cover letter, not just the initial 4-page statement, but read through the entire 50-page, 70-page document that is provided to you from the insurance company, because that's where the details are. That's where you can really get in and understand it. So that's something we do with everybody that we work with to make sure we fully understand what their insurance coverage is and what potential gaps in financial, budget that they might have. So that's really important for us.
Great. Well, will you hang around for a moment in case people have questions?
I've talked too much. I feel like I'm really here to answer questions.
Okay.
I do want to say that we've submitted to planning dozens of times now, and they have been so responsive and so great. And we keep on thinking like, okay, how are they gonna break? But they've been, speaking of resiliency, these guys have been great. I was looking at the dashboard this morning. I think the average for a building permit is like 68 days right now, which that may seem like a long time, but having been in this business and knowing what it was like before, it is an exceptionally fast amount of time to go from submitting to getting a permit in hand. So I don't know how they're doing it, but congratulations to you guys. Hang in there. I know it's tough. So keep doing what you're doing. It's giving people a lot of hope. I think, the longer you're in limbo and you're waiting for something, the days go by and the pressure builds, and I hate to see that. So to the day that they get their permit is a big day. So the faster that comes, the better it is. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for participating in our conversation.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Thank you for asking me to be here.
And if anyone has more questions, feel free to reach out to Chris afterwards. And Brian, we hope you get some snacks too and hang out for a moment. And so as we come to the end of our session today, I want to proclaim in advance a mission accomplished. My whole idea and intention here was to get us together in conversation, because we can share knowledge, we can get hope, we can better understand what we need to rebuild our town, to rebuild our community. And I had a conversation with Iselfi, who is Mama Shirley's oldest son. And of course, he and I have a relationship, and now I understand where he gets what he's got, right? Because he's got that special quality. And I was telling him about the challenges with insurance. Our home was not lost. However, we had smoke and ash mitigation. And today, here it is, August. We are still going through the ringer with insurance for smoke and mitigation. And, and I say that in a hopeful way to say that, we're bringing it to completion because we know what we need, but that's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. So I've asked Selfie to come. He is the CEO of Taylor Financial Services and Insurance, to talk just a little bit about the financial aspect of that. As I mentioned to him, we got checks from the insurance company for different, for dwelling, for a loss of use. That was for the Airbnbs because we're out of our home for maybe 7 or 8 weeks. But then it was for other structures. Then they said personal property. So they just lumped it all into one category. So then when we get the invoice from the PuroClean, who did our mitigation, it's a matter now of assigning a check to an invoice, right? Because it's just all jumbled up together. And they have so many clients that they're not able to do it. So thank goodness for ChatGPT. I've been using AI to help sort out the communications and get them in alignment, and we are closer to resolution. But I'd like to call Shirley Taylor forward just to talk a little bit about the financial implications of this, and I got a microphone for you right here, sir. Thanks for coming out today. Indeed. Okay. There you go. There you go. All right, good.
I'm not 6'2", so I'll just put this. Okay, 6'2". But I cast a large shadow. Greetings, everyone. Privileged to come and share. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me, and thank you, Mom, for birthing me. So I'm here and see a nice familiar face as well. I know everyone's been here, and a lot of this information can be like drinking from a fire hydrant. There's a lot of stuff coming in, and you're like, I know I'm not grasping it all. So I think it's great just to have these resources here to ask questions today, and then to know who to call upon later should other things come about. What's going on in Altadena is obviously both near and dear to my heart, as the house that I grew up in was lost, and so my perspective is a little different. I live in Pasadena by the Rose Bowl, so like you, we had smoke damage, but fortunately I didn't lose my home. But watching my mom go through it, and just she's always been a strong woman, but seeing the level of resilience and I call her feistiness required to push through. I don't know if she'll be the first, but I think the race is on for her. Probably be the first person in Altadena to have her home rebuilt and back there. And I asked her, I said, Mom, okay, if your entire neighborhood's decimated, you're going to be the only one there. Do you want to go back? She's like, yes, I want to be the one there. So I'm like, okay. And then to her point, she's back. I've been living with my mom since I was like 17 years old. And so she's telling me to pick up my clothes and to do my laundry and all that stuff in there and tell me what to do. So where have I been? So it's like, oh, I'm 47. So it's like, okay, Mom. But it is a blessing to be able to rekindle that relationship as well and have that. So as mentioned, I'm the president and founder of Taylor Insurance and Financial Services. Been here in Pasadena. My office is right on Walnut and Lake, so I'm close for 25 years. And so I plan a lot for clients in all kind of situations you can think of, and this is a unique situation because it's actually me. I'm going, through it, as well. So if I can be a resource, we talked a little bit about the insurance and understanding that. I like what you're talking about, being able to build the specs that allow you to get insurance. Even in my home right now, I had an issue with the carrier who'd been pretty good about paying claims and the like, and they took every advantage they could to try to cancel my coverage. Now at renewal, my premium, and I live in a pretty big home in Pasadena, but to give you perspective, my insurance premium was about $6,000 a year now, and the quote that I've been giving for renewal from another carrier is $22,000 a year. Oh, if you can you not hear me? Oh, okay. I typically project pretty well. Okay, can you hear me better now? Okay. I was saying that my previous coverage is about $6,000 a year, and this renewal quote that I was just given was about $22,000 a year, and asking me to put in things like things that I didn't have to do, before. So it's challenging, but understanding as you're getting these checks, me being a finance guy, there's time value of money. So, knowing, hey, it might be 3 months, 6 months, a year before I'm ready for a rebuild, or while I'm waiting, what are you doing with the money in the interim? And don't have to take a lot of risk, putting the money in an interest-bearing account, allowing it to accrue, while you're using it, or perhaps you're building a bit under budget and you have additional monies. As hard as this is for my mom, I think we look at it, I think she's going to be better off when all's said and done. As challenging as this has been, she's going from a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom house. My mom loves to cook, right? She had this little galley kitchen before. Now she's going to have a full kitchen with an island there as well, and added almost 1,100 square feet, right, to her property, right? I don't know if she'll still have a room for me there, but maybe. But I say out of calamity comes also opportunity, and sometimes things fall apart so that better things can come together, right? And so I'm here to be a resource both as these monies come in and navigating the insurance stuff, as well as we talk about it, probably going to be some time away, but there's a prospect of some large settlement checks coming in from Southern California Edison, for the culpability that they had in not taking appropriate measures to protect the homeowners and avoid, this calamity. And so I believe there's going to be a lot of newly minted millionaires in the area from this as well. So, it's going to be a process, right? These things aren't going to happen overnight, but I always say it's important to get the information and make educated decisions, and then everyone can do what's best. It's best for them. That's important. Similar to you, I can't, do everything, but I'm in the process of building a real estate impact fund, and I want to start buying lots and rebuilding homes as well. So if anyone's interested in talking about that, I'm going to be doing that as well. So I'm going to raise somewhere between 10 and 20 million and do that there. So it's where I grew up. I want to see it. Altadena has an amazing charm, and it's going to be different, but again, as much as we can hold together and rebuild expeditiously, I want to help, in that respect. I love Mother Teresa's quote. A lot of times we can feel overwhelmed and we're just one person and we can't do a lot of things, but Mother Teresa said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone in the water that makes many ripples." Right? And so, again, individually, we can only do so much, but collectively there's great power. And so, again, really want to thank you, Michael, and commend you for putting this together and bringing the resources, and for all of those of you who are either directly or indirectly impacted by this my mom had sacrificed a great deal for my brother and I to be able to grow up in this area and become, good businessmen. And those are my twin daughters in the back there as well. So, they'll come and take the torch there. And so it's important to note that my mom has already bypassed me. The house doesn't go to me; it just goes to I'm skipped at this point. So that's okay, right? It's okay. It's a blessing, to have her and to be able to rebuild and see this process. And so, if you want an example of resilience and stick-to-itiveness, Mama Shirley, certainly that. Again, if anyone has any questions as it relates to insurance, planning, that I always say, you want to be proactive rather than reactive, and that's super important. So if I can be a resource there, I'm more than happy to do that. So, and then I want to honor everyone's time this Saturday, and appreciate everyone for coming out and sharing. But I'm right on Walnut and Lake, Taylor Insurance and Financial Services. I got another, I'm her other adopted son here, Miss Johnson, as well. But I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, family. And we'll have contact information for everyone on the website, on the live stream. We'll have contact information for all of the presenters, and so we can continue this conversation. I proclaim this mission accomplished. This was a wonderful conversation, and I want you to know that this is just the beginning of a dialogue in which we'll be able to give hope to people, help them walk through the process. I want to, again, just reaffirm that I am a resource. You can reach out to me. I built a house. I've walked through this process. I know how to do this, and I've got tremendous resources. And so I'm sharing those with our community here in the spirit of shared leadership so that we can disseminate this information throughout the community and help to rebuild. So with that, we want to honor your time. And thank you all for supporting this in consciousness, those of you who are watching this in the live stream, and those of you in the quantum realm who are watching this years later, or months later, or days later, however it may be. And we'd just like to close with a prayer, an acknowledgement to the first ancestor, the one who goes by many names and who responds to them all. And so if you would just join with me as we turn within to the secret and sacred place, and we just breathe, breathing in the breath of that one who goes by many names and responds to them all. We call it God, good, Allah, Jesus Christ. We call it, and it responds. For even before we were formed in our mother's womb, it knew our name and it called us forward. On this day, for hope, for light, for illumination, for love, and for assuredness, for knowing and knowing that we know that this presence is in charge, that all is well, all is working together for good. I speak it, I proclaim it, I decree it and declare it, knowing it to be so. We are grateful. We allow this gratitude to lift us and shift us and take us through this day. I send this prayer forward, send it back to our ancestral line, and in gratitude, we simply decree and declare, and so it is. Amen. Ashe. Amen. Thank you, family. This has been wonderful. The stream will be, please share this stream with your neighbors, folks who didn't get a chance to tune in, and we will keep you informed about our next Rebuild Altadena Town Hall. And so it is. All right. And there's snacks in the fellowship hall and also resources and forms. And yeah, let's go have a little zoo-zoos and wham-whams. And thank you again, Mama Shirley. Appreciate you so much. Blessings and light. Thank you, family. Come on.